I would like to thank everyone for joining us today for our webinar, Unlock Hidden Insights in Your Oracle ERP Cloud Data. Today's webinar will begin in just a moment, but in the meantime, I just have a couple of quick housekeeping items to go over. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive a link to the recording as soon as it's available. All participants will be muted, but you'll notice on the right-hand navigation, there's both a question and a chat box. So if you have any questions or technical difficulties, please feel free to reach out to us, and any questions for the presenter will be addressed at the end of the webinar. But please go ahead, you can enter those in at any time. We are excited to have Emtec's Analytics Practice Director, Saad Syed, here with us today, and I know he's looking forward to educating on this topic. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Saad.
Thank you, Erica, and good morning, everyone. My name is Saad Syed, and as Erica mentioned, I head up the analytics practice at Emtec. My practice is primarily focused around building data warehouse and analytics solutions for enterprises. However, with our substantial ERP practice that runs in parallel, we find ourselves often working on the Fusion product in a variety of solutional roles. We're very excited to present this latest offering from Oracle. But before we get started on that, just quickly cover a little bit of the agenda for this morning. I'd like to introduce you to some of the basic BI and reporting components, just covering what is available within OTBI, the embedded solution for reporting in Fusion Cloud, and what is now available in Fusion Analytics. Now, you may hear me use various terms, or you may have previously heard Oracle use various terms, depending on the person you're talking to, such as Fusion Analytics, ERP Analytics, or Fusion Analytics Warehouse. They all refer back to the same product set, which for the purpose of this presentation, we'll be calling Fusion Analytics. We'll also be looking at some of the sample metrics and some of the sample content that comes with the Fusion Analytics product set, and then we'll open it up a little bit for your questions. Just a really quick about Emtec. We do want to let you know who we are. Emtec is a large systems implementer and digital transformation company focused around four main pillars. The Emtec Digital brand, which is focused around app development and digital transformation. Emtec Infrastructure Services, which is a separate group that provides traditional IT and infrastructure services to companies. Wave 6, which is a Salesforce-focused company within the Emtec umbrella. And then finally, Emtec Consulting, which I am a part of. Emtec Consulting is focused on Oracle Cloud and on-premise solutions. We provide implementation and optimization services around the ERP, HCM, EPM, and analytics product stacks, as well as providing managed services and what we call Oracle Day 2 services across all of those products within Oracle, and including the back-end databases and Oracle Infrastructure Cloud. Our industry focus is pretty varying, but we have some core industries that we focus on: financials, manufacturing, healthcare, both human health and pet care, retail, utilities, education, and logistics. So that's just a little bit about us, and we'll get right into the content for today. So just a quick overview of the reporting options with Oracle Financials Cloud, really being focused around two general areas. The first being operational and reporting analytics, and then the second being financial close analysis and regulatory reporting. Financial close analysis and regulatory reporting, largely everything you see here on the right, focused on planning or audit or just your compliance reporting, your picture perfect external reporting. We're not going to be really focused on that for the purpose of this discussion. I did want to list this out as part of the reporting umbrella, just for completeness of thought, if you will. But our focus will really be on the three products you see here on the left, the operational reporting and strategic analytics piece of the Oracle solution stack, which covers OTBI, Fusion Analytics, and OAC. So with that, I'll move into kind of that, focusing in on that left-hand side that you saw there. The original, when we talk about the original reporting for Oracle Cloud, what I mean is when the product was launched, it was really launched with the embedded tool set of OTBI. OTBI stands for Oracle Transactional Business Intelligence and is the embedded product that comes with Cloud Financials. It's focused very much on transactional data, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, so I'm not going to get too much into it, but it's really your ledgers, for your accountants doing system entry, really focused on real-time operational and transactional data. If we wanted to go beyond that originally, what was really required was being able to extract that data into Oracle's cloud analytics platform. And this meant that you would have to do custom development to build the extracts. You would have to do a lot of custom data modeling to build up the data warehouse, and really do a lot of that heavy lifting before you could start even replicating the OTBI data into Oracle Analytics. And then you would build out your use case, and if there's a need to bring in external data, you would bring that in at that point. There was obviously a number of steps, and it was a labor-intensive process to build up that analytics platform. What Oracle subsequently realized was there was a gap here that needed to be addressed. For organizations who are looking to certainly leverage some enterprise-wide analytics capability, that means being able to dimensionalize their data, slice and dice, and we're going to talk about what it means to do strategic analytics in a minute. But for organizations really looking to get an enterprise-wide look at their data, maybe bring in some external data without having to do a lot of this heavy lifting of remodeling up their data that's in Cloud Financials. And that's really where Fusion Analytics Warehouse comes in. What Fusion Analytics Warehouse is the purpose-built data warehouse that already gives you a leg up and helps you avoid rebuilding or recreating all of your financial data that's already sitting in Cloud Financials. It avoids building that and helps you focus on the other part of that equation, bringing in that external data, marrying that up together, and being able to, for an organization who's looking to avoid some of that grunt work at the start, if you will, really it gets you up and going quicker and faster. And what really differentiates it from the OTBI pieces, I want to focus here on a factor of basically running the business versus guiding the business, right? And what that means is there are users whose needs are going to be more day-to-day, whether they're line managers or your financial staff, your accountants, who need to be able to, as part of their day-to-day job, manage the financial system, do either AP invoice entry, AR invoice entry, be able to do basic GL accounting, and run some of the transactional reports that are related to the functions of those jobs, financial statements and such, right? Or do some base planning. that's what we would categorize as really running the business. And for that, OTBI is a great tool and serves their needs, entirely. When we talk about guiding the business, when we're talking about doing more financial forecasting or budget planning, or when we talk about, monitoring high-level performance via KPIs or key performance indicators, doing root cause analysis, looking at data across multiple systems, those activities are really focused around guiding the business rather than running it day to day. And for the business analysts and executives who are doing that function, that's really the group that FAW or Fusion Analytics Warehouse was really built to serve. I mean, if we talk about at the most granular level, another way to look at this is operational reporting or strategic analysis. I've used these terms a couple of times. What it's focused on is operational reporting is really about what's happening, what happened, or what did happen in the near past, right? The scope of that time period is much more limited versus looking at strategic analysis. You're looking at not only what happened in the distant past, you're looking at why it happened, right? What other pieces of data changed to affect what happened in my financials, or what will happen in the future. You're looking at also at predicting what could happen based on prior trends. You're looking at a larger scope of data as well. I mean, if we look at the problems being served by operational reporting, the scope of those problems is much more focused, right? It's much more immediate and it's much more focused on one particular function, largely. And with strategic analysis, when you talk about that, there's a larger scope, right? There's either strategic initiatives that strategic analysis ends up supporting, or there's just a wider view of your business that it takes into account when looking to address a solution. And so, based on that, you have limited visibility between the two as well. With operational reporting, you're typically limited to your source business applications. So, within the case of Fusion Cloud Financials, you're going to be limited to the data within that application, whether it's, the AR module or the AP module or the supply chain module. With strategic analysis, you want to be able to pull in multiple data sources, multiple systems, even non-Oracle systems, right? And build cross-functional data. And so that's really the key differentiator between the two. What ends up happening is, as you map this out, you build what we call a maturity model, or an analytics maturity model specifically for an organization. And this is represented here with the x-axis being really a increase in business value from transactional to strategic, and the y-axis being a increase in information maturity. So what that means is really system maturity and the number of and complexity of systems involved increasing appropriately. And what we see is, if we look at the bottom right-hand side of this graph, the consolidated reporting or basic reporting really of what is happening, what we talked about in that previous slide, is served by these operational systems like OTBI, right? When we get to why is it happening or what might be happening, when we start graduating on the value and the complexity of the systems that are answering the questions, that's where we move more into the strategic analytics area, with the goal here being predictive analytics. Now, there's also a more graduated or more or a higher value piece to this than predictive analytics. It's called prescriptive analytics, where the system ends up dictating what should happen, like what steps you should be taking in order to drive results in a certain way. That is, being explored from a technological perspective by some of the machine learning and AI systems that are or technologies that are being developed currently. I wanted to, at least for the purpose of this conversation, limit our scope a little to what we're doing with FAW. And so I just limited us to predictive analytics, which can help at least understand what may happen or is what is likely to occur given historical inputs, given historical trends. And the key for us as implementers or as technology experts is really getting organizations moving from that bottom left-hand corner on basic reporting really up that ladder chain, right? Through incremental and improved efficiencies in process, through incremental and improved efficiencies in technologies and solutions. And FAW really helps move folks on a fast track, if you will, along this line by really creating this content. So just to recap a little bit quickly, to focus on OTBI, what is OTBI? And so what OTBI is it's a embedded set of or an embedded tool set that helps you do real-time analysis of the transactional data in your Fusion applications. And I should actually rephrase that. It's really real-time reporting, right? There's limited slice and dice capabilities, but it's really focused on what was entered into my system and when was it entered in. And it's specific to each of the various Fusion applications, such as Sales Cloud, Financial Cloud, HCM Cloud, and it's limited to that data set. Now, it is all inclusive of that data set, so it can report on all data that is in your transactional system, but it is only going to report on data exactly as you've captured it. It doesn't do any sort of traditional data or further data enrichment. It doesn't allow you to build out the data model in a specific way to do complex calculations. It doesn't allow you to add in any external data, certainly, right? And OTBI's main report delivery methods are BI Publisher, which is for pixel perfect reporting, BI Answers, and BI Composer, which are both more user-friendly interfaces for building out reports, the transactional reports. Then we have the new product, Fusion Analytics Warehouse. And what Fusion Analytics Warehouse is, Oracle has used their Oracle Analytics Cloud and autonomous data warehouse tools to really build out an application that can sit alongside your Fusion ERP data. What it does is it has pre-built data extracts to pull data and calculate, create calculated measures, create KPIs from all of your financials data. It's currently only available for ERP and HCM. For the purpose of this conversation, we're focusing on the ERP side, but there's similarly the same application can be extended to Fusion HCM if you so use it. But what it really does is it automates the data flow through from the Fusion ERP system, and it automates the data transformation. So all the aggregates are pre-created for you. All of the calculated measures are created for you. And it also provides you a pre-built set of reports and dashboards that are really for multiple levels of the organization. It has executive level dashboards, and we're going to look at some of those in a minute here. But it has executive level dashboards. It has analyst or dashboards that are valuable to business analysts. So it looks to address a value to multiple initiatives or multiple people within the organization with the content that it has. FAW also supports connectivity to multiple source systems. Now, this is a big one because it supports connectivity to both Oracle and non-Oracle source data sources. You can pull in, if you've got data sitting in an Access database or a spreadsheet or even a SQL Server database somewhere else, you can pull that in into the FAW data source. You can model that data up, to further enhance. So if you have calculated measures that are specific to your organization, you can create those with the analytics toolset. You can spend really your time not recreating all of that financial data. What we discussed would typically or traditionally happen with the OAC custom solutions. You don't have to spend all that time recreating what you've got in Cloud Financials. It'll pull that in, it'll build you the base aggregates, and your organization can then focus on either customizing or expanding, right? Where there may be more business value to you, that's where the efforts can focus. The chief advantage is when I look at what's available with FAW versus OTBI. And again, this is not to say that you don't need OTBI when you have FAW. Absolutely, OTBI serves a very valid and very useful purpose for what it does. But I think where the advantages that come forward are, and it shows kind of that they have two separate use cases, is that where you need complex algorithms or data enrichment for complex algorithms. That could be historical trends, balance trends, for example. OTBI or the Fusion application, as it's designed, is focusing on the current data in the system. If you're looking at historical data or data that's changing hierarchies or changing where it's located in the organization over time, if you're looking at things like ratio analyses or doing complex calculations, OTBI is not going to serve that purpose because it's not designed to serve that purpose. That's where all of this is possible with Fusion Analytics Warehouse. Or if you're looking to do multiple data source integration, specifically with either other modules of Fusion, like HCM data, if you're looking to pull in your HCM data to your financials data, or you're looking to go even with old legacy data that may be sitting on an on-prem solution, or that's just a separate non-Oracle data source sitting on-prem or in the cloud, you want to be able to pull that, and you can do that with Fusion Analytics Warehouse. That's really not what OTBI was built to do. So, that's another distinct advantage that I see. How it does that is, and I briefly touched on this earlier, but the architecture for FAW is that you have the Oracle Financials Cloud data here represented by this orange and red cloud. You utilize prepackaged data pipeline to load data into the ADW or the Autonomous Data Warehouse. This warehouse feature, for those of you who aren't aware, this is one of Oracle's really cutting edge solutions that's offered on the platform or infrastructure side. An autonomous data warehouse that essentially self-governs, self-regulates itself. It does its own performance management and performance optimization. It essentially eliminates the need for a DBA to sit there and manage this database for you. It is a very high capability tool. We've seen it used at multiple clients now for varying purposes, but it essentially eliminates the need to have dedicated resources just babysitting a database, especially when those resources are limited and they may be needed elsewhere. But then from the autonomous data warehouse, where the calculation and the data transformation really occurs, we go into the front end, that is the prepackaged KPIs and dashboards with a prepackaged business model that can then be customized, can be extended via the Analytics Cloud product set. Some sample content. I have some screenshots that we'll be showing in the next few slides, but just to go over some basic sample content, we have the P&L content that is part of ERP Cloud. That's also part of the FAW. It also has the receivables and payable subledgers, as well as the balance sheet. So you have varying, again, now this is more focused on your KPIs, but the transactional data is part of that data model automatically. So you do have detailed data where you need it to be able to drill down. But here's a small representation. And again, this is not an entire list. We wanted to just include some basics to give you a sample of what's available with the application. If we look at the dashboard, so this is a great executive dashboard. This is what I call your, when you're 5-minute a day dashboard. This is something that executives can come into in the morning and look at the financial health of the organization in the last 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever they want to do, without spending too much time unnecessarily digging through data. These are graphical representations that can show, how's my revenue or my spending, how was my, my typical financial ratios, my liquidity ratios, or how's my balance sheet doing. And they can then, if they do see something that raises a red flag, they can then focus in on a specific area, but they don't need to spend more than 5 minutes in the morning just looking at this to make sure that everything is all right. And as you can see, there are green, yellow, and red indicators based on thresholds that you can adjust in the application for your organization, right? So I may be an executive who comes in and just focuses on the reds, or I may know that something is a red, and so I don't need to keep focusing in on it. I may want to focus elsewhere on my yellows or even a green, if I so choose, without again spending too much time digging into the data. When we do want to see details, so for your business analysts and such, we do have that available, as I mentioned. So this is, for example, a OpEx analysis dashboard. It focuses on summary data, again, graphical representations of the data up top, but we do have the detailed data below, and this is again coming from your ERP system. And as you focus in on specific areas, this data will update as well to show you exactly the details supporting the summary visualizations that you see up top. Similarly, we have a net income analysis example, which again with both summary and detailed data below it. And this is again, as you will update or as you'll click on this data, you'll see the detailed data change appropriately. Again, these are just sample dashboards. There's definitely a lot more content out there with Fusion and Analytics Warehouse. There's more content being added every day. In fact, the product is constantly getting updated with new content being released by Oracle. This I just wanted to provide as just a quick sample as part of this webinar. So some key takeaways about Fusion Analytics Warehouse. It's an application that's built on Oracle's industry-leading Analytics Cloud and autonomous data warehouse platforms, but it's pre-built with data models, and it's enabled with pre-built data models and content for quicker setup. It enables data enhancement of your financial data, but also has advanced analytics capabilities that can do some data transformation as well. It enables data model extension to external data sources or to even legacy data sources that are on-prem or in the cloud. And its turnkey implementation really allows us to quickly spin up these environments and get users in there using the data faster for maximum ROI. At this point, I'll turn it over to Erica again for questions. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to me this morning or this afternoon, and we'll now open up the floor for questions.
Great, thanks, Saad. Yeah, if you have any questions, we do have a couple that have come through, but just a reminder, we do have that question pane on the right-hand side, so just enter it in, and we'll get Saad to answer your questions. So Saad, the first question that came through is what drives organizations to pursue FAW as a solution?
Great question. So there are a couple of main things. One is that organizations who want to go beyond the transactional reporting that I talked about, right, with OTBI, they want to be able to really look at the strategic aspect of things. And I think I've talked extensively about strategic versus operational reporting, so I'm not going to get down that path. But another one is that they don't necessarily want to spend time custom developing a data warehouse with where the majority of the effort is just focused on recreating their financials data. They want to certainly have the benefits of a data warehouse, but they would rather focus on building the piece with external data sources, for example, being pulled in, or being able to dimensionalize the data in a different way according to some other system or some other initiative. So FAW allows them to do that because the ERP data part is covered the minute you turn it on. They can focus on building out the external data sources part or building out the further data transformations specific to their organization, through customizations and such.
Great, thank you. One other question that has come through: what does the implementation timeline look like, and what are the driving factors?
Sure. So the implementation timeline for this is actually very quick. We're talking about you can have this entire system up, including the front end, implemented and tested to make sure there's data consistency in a matter of 10 days. If not quicker, actually. 10 days is being conservative, allowing for time to test by both the client and your implementation partner. You can have it up as quick as 5 days even, from end to end. What the driving factor, though, or the place where things tend to take a little longer, is if you're then looking to extend that data model. Right? If you're looking to either customize it with external data sources, or you're looking to build some custom calculations to it, that can obviously add in a little bit of time. But the fact that you've done, over 60 or 70% of the work in a matter of 5 to 10 days, that means that, your total implementation is going to maybe take 4 weeks to put in everything, and you can get typically what would take 12 weeks or 10 weeks to do, you can be up in under a month off the ground and running.
Great, thank you. Again, if anybody has any other questions, please enter them into the question pane. It looks like, give everybody just a sec here. Okay, I think that's it. So just a reminder, I would like to first thank everybody again for joining us today. We did record our session, as I mentioned in the beginning, and we will be sending it out for those that are interested. And if you have any additional questions, if you're interested in some more information, please reach out to us. And thank you, Saad, for your time. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.